Hello once again, YouTube blade lovers. This old sword here with yet another presentation of a knife company I haven't covered yet. I want to read to you briefly from Knife Center, giving you some background on this company. NOC Knives is originally a factory that designs and manufactures folding knives, fixed blade knives, and all kinds of everyday carry gear. Located in Yanjiang, a city in southern China that has more than 1,000 years of knife making history. With high standards on quality and efficiency, they have worked OEM high-end outdoor knives, for many international brands and customers during the past few years. And in order to hear more voices and have more interchange with knife players all around the world, they built their own brand in August 2018 called NOC Knives. NOC Knives. NOC, N-O-C, is operated by an experienced knife designer named Nick, N-I-C, O-N-E, who leads their design team and has worked with many other famous brands. And it says they're always open-minded to hungry for ideas in collaboration with knife enthusiasts, makers, manufacturers, and brands all around the world. Thank you, Knife Center, for that overview, so we know a little bit more about what we're looking at here today. So I have two NOC knives for you. They both sort of fall into the category of a folding chef knife, but they function just fine as EDC knives. And the top one, the larger of the two, I picked up on Amazon about a year ago. And it is the DG0401-3. And the bottom one is a DT03. So we have another manufacturer that likes to use letters and numbers rather than names, but we'll take a look at them nonetheless. Let's start with the smaller of the two, and this is the DT03. We have here a titanium handle and a VG10 blade. The interesting thing is that we have a blade which is smaller to the handle, shorter to the handle from the tip than it is to the edge, all by virtue of the design. A little less organized than usual. We have an overall length of 8.5 inches. And notice that we have slightly greater than 4 inches on the cutting edge, but we have approximately 3 3/4 to the handle. Fairly unusual with your average folding knife. It's a frame lock, again of titanium, and we have a titanium clip. It is pretty smooth action, although not exactly drop shutting. Works very, very well with the Spidey flick, since you've got a substantial sized hole there. There is no flipper, so you've got to either use the thumb or the middle finger on the Spidey flick. Again, the steel is VG10, handle material titanium, and what is the weight on this guy? Well, why don't we find that out? If I can find my trusty scale. Oh, here we go. I got to move my studio table tomorrow. I got the Got the gas company guy coming to do the annual on the furnace. And yep, I'm in the furnace room here. Interesting trivia for you. So we've got a nice lightweight of 3.63 ounces on the DT01. While I got the scale out, let's get to its bigger brother, just so you got that. And we've got roughly 4¼ ounces on that guy. I'm going to get back to that larger of the two knives, the DG0401, in just a bit. Let's do a size comparison here of the DT03 next to a Griptilian. And we find that we've got pretty much the same overall length. But again, if we look at the edge, we've got about 1 inch longer, well, cutting edge. Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch longer cutting edge. If we compare it to the Rat 1, overall length, Rat 1 appears to be a tad longer. Rat 1 blade from the handle to the tip, almost identical. But again, if we look at edges, we've got almost 1 inch more cutting edge on the DT01. Nice thing about the designs is that that edge is pretty much below your fingers. So if you're on a cutting surface, you've got a little bit of a rock. It looks like a straight edge, but it has a slight curve to it. Definitely what we'd call a worn cliff. But the handle is way up here, and the edge is way down there. So if you're food prepping, it's a beautiful thing, as Mr. Shabazz likes to say. Let's put the DT01 aside for a moment and bring out its larger brother. I have to keep referring to my paper. The DG0401. And this is interesting in that we have a front flipper. Almost looks like a friction lock, the way this is set up. Again, it can be Spidey flicked without much trouble. This has a 440C blade, which would make it very good in the kitchen as far as anti-corrosion goes, non-rustable. It sports carbon fiber. Actually, it's that G10 composite and carbon fiber handles. Solid with the liner built in, and we've got a structure inside for the pivot on this side, put together with 4 screws. We have a what you'd call a spring steel clip, and it is billboarded with the NOC Knives name. Otherwise, well, the blades have a little bit on them. NOC Knives here. And it is, they're calling it a DG04 440C. Number they give in the catalog's a little longer than that. So we've got the DG0401 for this particular one. Tip on this is interesting in that it's reinforced. You got a little bit of a downward grind there, which makes the tip a little more robust. You got a swedge on the front. And a nice edge. Factory edge isn't bad. On the DTO3, that knife sports my mirror edge that I put on there with my KME, and much better edge. Flat grinds on both these knives bring that down to a very fine edge. So whereas you have a flat grind from the spine straight down to the edge on the DTO3, on the DG04, we have pretty much a flat grind almost from the spine. And then here we have that flat grind interrupted by the hole. Of course you do on the DTO3 as well. Right. Let's have a quick comparison with this DG04 to the Griptilian. Kind of dwarfs the Griptilian. And then with the Rat 1, yeah, significantly larger than the Rat 1 as well. I don't think I gave you overall specs on the DG04. Let's take a look. Get that tip. Yeah, we've got 9 3/8. We've got a blade to the pivot collar of roughly 4 1/4, and we've got an edge of slightly less than 4, about 4 7/8. So you actually have more of a cutting edge on the smaller knife. Once again, that is an interesting feature of the DTO3. So NOC Knives, hey, can't knock them. And it looks like the manufacturer is building knives for a lot of other concerns. We don't know which ones exactly, but they really do appear to do fine work. Nicely milled titanium. And a titanium backspacer on that one too. Got a little bit of billboarding here. Oh, if we get it the right way, you might be able to read it, right? NOC Knives, Tack Ray. So this does have a name, DTO3, Tack Ray. I don't know if you can read that. There it is. Tack Ray. It did come in a pouch, whereas the larger one did not. Let's bring them both out again. And if you like this video, please let me know. If you'd like to comment, feel free. I'd like to hear from you. And of course, subscribe. This Old Sword and NOC Knives signing out.